Kamala Harris, Tim Walz. She hasn't done any interviews. I mean, when you push for a substitute nominee, did you envision somebody who wouldn't speak to the media at all, who wouldn't hold a single press conference, who wouldn't give a single interview in now a month's time? And all we have right now is a promise that by the end of the month, she will schedule one.
Yeah, no, I think she's going to do a lot more interviews and a lot more press conferences. What I don't think people appreciate is how unprecedented this situation is. Even as we sit here today, Kamala Harris has been running for president for almost exactly 1 month. Usually, when you're at the nominating process, the nominee has been campaigning for 18 months. She had to consolidate the support of the Democratic Party around her in a record amount of time. And she had to get out there and deliver a message across the country telling people what her vision was. She had to get that right. She had to build her campaign team. So that was not the time to go out and start doing a bunch of interviews and a bunch of press conferences. Now, I'll make you a deal. If a month from now it's the case that she hasn't done them, yeah, well, then I think we have something to talk about. But I'm quite confident that as soon as we get out of the convention, that she's going to do the interview, she's going to do the press conferences, and she's going to do what all presidential candidates do. And I've seen her do interviews, I've seen her do press conferences, I've seen her give speeches. I think she's going to handle all of that just fine.
Well, I certainly hope you're right. I mean, a month from now, early voting's already underway, so it's a little late. I mean, the people in Pennsylvania who are going to go to the polls on September 16th, they deserve to hear her pressed, cross-examined by skeptical reporters who ask her about her flip-flops and positions. As we've only learned from campaign representatives, what's happening now is not, as the Democratic Party likes to say, democratic. It is not democratic. Let's talk about some other issues that have come up. Tim Walz has been accused of stolen valor by men who have served country in good faith and put everything on the line for the Stars and Stripes, 50 of whom just wrote a letter demanding that he admit he lied about his rank and about his decision not to go to Iraq, which he made knowing that his unit was about to be deployed. So should he come out and apologize?
Those are just shameful lies. I mean, there's so many aspects of that are just completely dishonest.
Are you speaking of Tim Walz's lies?
No, I am talking about the accusations that are being made against him. They are absolute lies. To begin with, you talk about, well, I'm getting there. Just give me a second. To begin with, you talk about the 50 people, I think it was 40, but whatever the number was, one of them was Ronnie Jackson, who put on the letter that he was a rear admiral. He was actually busted down to captain for misconduct. So this is the credible source that we're going to. That letter had to be changed. There was also a whole bunch of people that claimed to be retirees from the military who were not.
Okay, but we've had guys from Tim Walz's unit on this show, like Tom Behrens.
I understand that.
So speak to that.
What the actual facts are, he decided to run for Congress in February. He got out of the military in May, and his unit was called up in July, and I believe didn't deploy until like 6 months after that. He left the Guard unit specifically to run for Congress before the deployment orders came in.
But he knew that they were going.
No,
he knew they were going.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah, are you familiar with the fact yes, are you familiar with the fact that there was a senior commanding officer who went on CNN and said that they were told in the fall of 2004 that they were going to be deployed to Iraq, and he had not yet filed papers to run for Congress?
Incredible level of dishonesty about what he was doing.
He's a liar too?
He decided to, you keep putting words in my mouth, which I respect.
You said these are lies.
Reporter. Yes, the lies are being told about Tim Walz. He did not get out of the National Guard because he didn't want to deploy. To claim that is an absolute lie, 100%.
That's not what the facts show, but I understand we're not going to agree on this.
So you have him on record somewhere saying, "Oh my God, I'm going to Iraq. I have to run for Congress."
There was a senior. What happened? I'll answer you, sir. I'll answer you. No, you asked me a question, so let me answer. There's a senior commanding officer who served with Walz, who said they were briefed in the fall of 2004 and told that they were likely to get the deployment notice at any time.
Likely.
Take a listen to him, sir. Take a listen to him.
People don't really understand the chronological events as they occurred. And I'm going to kind of start back in the fall of 2004 is what we received, my commander and myself of the 1st Brigade, 34th Infantry Division Brigade Combat Team, what's called a notification of sourcing, which is a NOS. We were informed that we would be alerted to go to Iraq within the next upcoming year or time period out there. Start preparing your team. From that going forward, we met with the 10125 Field Artillery, introduced ourselves, talked to them, and give them a heads up. This is what's happening. We don't know full particulars, but we will get to it.
That 125 is Walz's unit.
Right. What is 100% a lie is to say that Tim Walz got out of the military so he wouldn't be deployed. That is an absolute lie. He had served his 20 years, first of all. Well, okay. You don't know that. You don't have any evidence of it. So we're just going to claim that Tim Walz.
No, I have plenty of evidence of it. They were told in the fall of 2004 they were going to be deployed, and he didn't go.
But he had served his 20 years, and he made a decision to run for Congress. So you're going to tell me that he was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be deployed. I've served. He has an absolute right at 20 years in particular, when you've served that much time to retire.
Listen, you're head Democrat on armed services.
I
you
am,
understand.
And I'm really
so speak to the upset
deeply.
veterans. Don't speak to Megyn Kelly. This isn't my issue. I don't like it, but it's not me raising it. It is veterans. You represent them on this committee. They're upset. They say this is completely extraordinary to leave your unit when you know they're being deployed.
Really, really dishonest. There are
Stop saying that, sir. They're on the record. You're questioning the honesty now of our men and women in uniform who have gone on the record at great political risk to themselves. Be respectful
of them. Can I get the words out here? I am not questioning that. I am questioning the notion that there is all of these people who are questioning it. There are also a ton of people who have served with Tim Walz, who have testified to his courage, who have said, that's not true. That didn't happen. So yes, there may be a few veterans. I don't know what their motivations are. I don't know who they are who are saying this. But again, let's just take a step back for 1 second. The accusation that Tim Walz didn't want to deploy with his unit, and that's why he got out, that is simply not what the facts show. All right.
That's your opinion.
The facts
that's
show
your opinion.
that he
we're not going to agree. I totally disagree with
Congress.
You already said that.
20 years.
Speak to the using the rank that doesn't belong to him. How about calling himself a retired command sergeant major? Can you defend that?
Most absolutely. He was promoted to be a command sergeant major. So at one point he served in that rank. Now, the way it works, which is not something that people who aren't familiar with the military would be aware of, you have to do a little bit more to be able to retire at that rank. Okay, so it is not wrong to say that Tim Walz was a command sergeant major. He was. It is wrong to say that he retired at that rank. And that came out a couple of times and they corrected it. Okay, and you can see where, okay, he's both retired and he was a command sergeant major, but he is not a retired command sergeant major. That is true. And I think that is a very innocent mistake that does not show any desire to lie.
But you know, Congressman, are you aware that he's had veterans going to his office to say, stop doing that? You were a provisional command sergeant. No, he didn't. He blew them off. This is years ago, sir. He did not. He continued saying it over and over. Here he is. Listen to him. This is all long after he was told by veterans, stop doing that. It's stolen valor. Listen, here he is.
Look. I'm a retired command sergeant major. I spent 24 years in the Army National Guard.
So when you first came to Washington, you were a retired command sergeant major in the Army National Guard. So you were drawn immediately to...
As a 24-year veteran of the National Guard and the Red Bull Division and a retired command sergeant major.
Yeah. The Harris website had retired command sergeant major. They had to scrub it long after veterans had been complaining to him.
Yeah, look, I understand this line of attack, okay? If I had Donald Trump as my nominee, I would be wanting to talk about absolutely anything else possible.
So the veterans are their political operatives.
Well, there are a whole lot of veterans who are defending Tim Walz. Do you think they're lying? Do you think
no one's defending the use of a title he didn't earn? Who's defending the use of a title he didn't earn?
There are a ton of people. They're defending the fact that that's not what he did. Okay.
I just played it for you. Do you dispute that? There's plenty more. We could be here all day if I played them all.
There are a ton of veterans who are standing up for Tim Walz. So you keep saying, if I disagree with a veteran, then I must be dishonoring their service.
You're calling them liars. You're calling them liars. That's why. Disagree, no. Liars, yes.
You are disagreeing with a whole bunch of veterans too. who stand up
Not true,
and
sir.
defend Tim
Not true.
Walz.
I have no issue with those who say they like Tim Walz and they want to vote for Tim Walz.
Yeah.
That's their business.
All of this
You come
is
on the
a
show and call these veterans
distraction.
liars or political operatives, we're gonna throw down.
Okay. It was dishonest of all of these people to say, well, if they want to say, now what you had that one person say, which was, okay, we were given this notification. We had to believe that we were probably going to be deployed at some point in the future. That's not dishonest. 100% not dishonest. But if you want to climb,
go ahead.
But if you want to climb into Tim Walz's skin, into his brain, and say, and if you are a veteran and you are saying publicly that Tim Walz decided to get out because he didn't want to go to Iraq, then you are saying something that you cannot possibly know to be true.
Well, then why doesn't he speak to that? Why doesn't he speak to that? Because these veterans have come out and said, please admit you lied. Speak to it. He won't give an interview. All he keeps saying is, I'm proud of my service. I'm proud of my service.
Right.
Then answer them.
Megyn,
show them the dignity and the respect of responding.
Megyn, let me just say this, okay? He has responded on a number of occasions to this.
No, he hasn't.
Right? And you and I are trying to have a conversation here, which is not going well at all, because I think there are some really important issues. And look, there are some legitimate challenges. I think your point about, Kamala Harris needing to do press conferences, that's legit. I wish we could have a conversation to talk about, what is the economic record? What are the economic plans going forward? What is the national security foreign policy? What is the future of democracy in America? I think those are very important issues. But personal attacks like this are just an easier place to go rather than having an honest discussion. And I think that's unfortunate. I don't think that's worthy.
I would love to discuss all of that with you.
Back to your point about Joe Biden. Okay. Yeah. As I said up front, I wanted to have strong candidates to have a legitimate debate, not to get into these personal attacks and go back and rewrite history about what was in Tim Walz's mind when he decided to run for Congress in February.
I understand, sir.
Okay?
And I would love to discuss all those topics with you, and you are welcome to come back anytime when we have more time, and we'll get into all of those. But I think you're wrong to dismiss these as personal attacks, and you should know that as the chairman, ranking member of the Armed Services Committee.
And I 100%
the veterans of this
disagree
country
with you.
take this very seriously.
Indeed.
And for the
And a
record,
lot
it
of
was
them
not
support
just
Tim
it was
Walz.
not just Senior Commander Julien and his allegations about the fall of 2004. We know that he got a notice in March of 2005 saying they were about to get a deployment notice. He didn't retire until May. He knew when he retired, he knew his unit was going. The guys he trained, the guys whose lives would be in his hands. And those guys are on the record as saying they felt incredibly betrayed. This guy could be commander in chief. It's
decided
relevant.
to run for Congress in February. Okay. And that's the decision that he made. And there is no evidence whatsoever. There is no evidence whatsoever that Tim Walz doesn't have the courage to stand up for his country. There is no evidence of that. And I think it's a despicable charge to throw at somebody. It just is.
I'm sorry you think that our servicemen are despicable. I stand up for them, and I don't think that at all.
You keep putting words about it is a despicable
Who's making the charge, sir? It is veterans who served. It's the guys who didn't cut and run. The guys who actually did go. They got the deployment notice and they went and they fought, and 3 of their unit died. Those are the ones making the allegation.
Yes, they did.
You want to put it on Megyn Kelly? I'm their voice, sir.
I honor their courage. Okay, I do, and I support them. And you, Megyn, I like you. You're a good person. You are not the only person standing up for veterans and the people who serve our country.
You know how much my family and I love our dogs. Yes, even my little Strudwick. Not so little. Quite a presence, actually. I can't imagine life without them, nor do I want to. They've had a great life and have one now. They're lucky. But some dogs are not so lucky. And that's why I'm so happy to tell you about Delta Rescue, the largest no-kill, care-for-life animal sanctuary in the world. They have rescued thousands of dogs, plus cats and horses too. They provide all the animals with shelter and safety, and most of all, with love. And they have been doing it for more than 45 years now. Delta Rescue relies solely on contributions, and giving can bring tax benefits too. Talk to your estate planner about how you can grow your estate while helping animals in need. And check out the estate planning tab on their website if you'd like to learn more. We love our Thunder and our Strudwick, and we would love to find dogs who don't have homes like they do, a loving, caring place to live. Delta Rescue helps the pups and cats and horses who need it most. DeltaRescue.org today if you'd like to help. DeltaRescue.org. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.